I've been told that people seem to think that I love to hear myself talk. And it is very true. I do love to hear myself talk. They'll never get me to admit it, but I do. Moving into the
It almost
background
felt like
NPC. So they got popular once, like Asmongold reacted to a video of theirs, and it was very interesting. We'll go ahead and see what her opinion is on Palworld. Like I said, she comes from a spot that I don't necessarily see, and she kind of changes the way that she changed the way that I look at things in a good way. So we'll have to see where this comes from. Let's go.
it almost felt like I was living in a simulation this past weekend, eerily similar to weekends I had back in early 2024, starting my new save file for Palworld, getting lost in
Hell
space
yeah.
and time, entire days just gone, an unreasonable number of, I need to do this one last thing, albeit this time around, I was a little less sad and a little less pudgy.
By the way, this trailer was so funny. I think because this is the one where the lizard with the hoodie, the Ignis, like bumped into Sekhmet and then like got fucking like dragged away by Lovander. That was such a funny trailer.
Gross. But on top of Palworld hitting Steam chart highs for the second time, it has been a very busy week.
Exactly.
Sony is now actively
Twice.
getting sued over anti-consumer behavior.
Thank God this is happening. Oh my God. Thank God.
Ubisoft sold 2 million copies of Black Flag Resynced, and we somehow got two of the worst summer blockbusters within a couple weeks of each
Moana and Supergirl were terrible.
other, but
Holy
mostly
shit, they
we
were
saw two
so
sides of the same
bad.
coin. We got Triumph and Palworld, which against all odds fought
Like I don't
against
usually
Nintendo.
really like do movie reviews, but in my yeah, exactly. But I catch a lot of movie reviews on like, on my off time, and my God, I watch the Critical Drinker videos on both those videos or on both those movies. Oh my God, they look so bad. Holy shit, dude. Flop amongst flops.
Against the Pokemon fanboys preying on its downfall, and just hit almost 860,000 concurrent players on Steam. We also got full public meltdowns in what is currently happening over at Bethesda. One of these studios has worked very diligently to earn your time and money, and one of them thinks that they are just entitled to it. But first,
Well, yeah, of course, they're Bethesda. They deserve you as a player, right?
let's catch up on a few things. Sony still has
By the way, I am a very vocal advocate of not liking Bethesda on its principle at the moment, just because I think that they have done irreparable harm to the gaming industry over a prolonged period of time, but it has not been like one massive like bit of harm. It has been a pattern of like small micro harms that have piled up over the time.
not said a single word about the physical media backlash. They have just kept marching on.
You'll see us on Friday. No
while
worries.
Getting absolutely
No
bodied in their
worries.
comment sections across.
I hope you have a
every
great
platform,
vacation,
which
and I hope
is
you find a place to
weirdly
charge
kind
your
of
phone.
impressive.
Have a good
I
one.
don't
Thanks
know,
for
I won't
stopping
lie.
by, Zombie.
Meanwhile, 2 days after announcing discs are going to die, their CEO sold off more than half of his personal stake in the company, about $4.5 million worth, and several other executives sold that exact same week too. And now they are staring down a lawsuit north of $450 million over exactly this. No discs.
So what's happening? Oh yeah, that's right. It's the Dutch. The Dutch are suing them over anti-consumer practices, which is actually big W for the Dutch. Like, yeah, fuck Sony. Come on, you can't do this,
Or
Sony.
resale market or alternative to their storefront.
Everybody should be hoping that this lawsuit wins and that this lawsuit eventually makes it to the US, because once it makes it to the US, this shit's gonna be fucking done with.
Just Sony alone.
Why?
Deciding
Because the
what a
US
game
said
should
so, that's
cost
why.
And how long you get to play it for. So the plan right now for them seems to be say nothing, let people crash out, and
Like, I'm actually super happy with the way that Europe so far has been handling the Stop Killing Games movement and the consumer rights stuff. Like, Europe very rarely farms W's, in my opinion, but like, this is one of those W's that I think everybody should just say unanimously is correct. The European Union, all the European politicians, anybody who is in support of the Stop Killing Games movement and stopping Sony from moving from physical to digital releases, absolute, complete, total, unequivocal W. Like, there, bar nothing, period. if those things pass, I'd be willing to give an excuse for the next EU blunder that they're going to inevitably make. But for this specific instance, huge W. Continue working this W, please, for the love of God, for the love of all that is holy, and for the love of all that is good and wholesome in the world.
Silently hope that GTA 6 fixes everything. Black Ops 1 and 2 ports dropped and immediately shot to the top of the PlayStation charts. Everyone was so excited, and then everyone found out that they had shipped the entire 2012 experience all over again, including the hackers. A decade of old problems came right back along with the new games, and
thanks, EA.
Activision ended up having to pull a whole playlist down. Thankfully, they did fix it though, which means the 3-act story is now complete. Old COD humiliates new COD, old COD immediately breaks, and Activision somehow swoops in to save the day. Meanwhile, Black Ops 7
is it Activision? It's not EA, right? It's Activision.
Over in the world of movies, Moana and Supergirl are currently locked in a battle for which side.
Like, it is just so astounding to me that they released Modern Warfare 1, 2, and 3, like the remakes of it, in like wearing the skin suit of 3 far superior games, a far superior trilogy. Like Modern Warfare 2000, when did that come out? Oh my god, 2007, 2008? Because I think Modern Warfare 2 came out in 2010, right? Pretty sure it did. Anyway, when those games came out, they were so good. And not because like multiplayer was good. The story was actually really good too. It took a little bit of time for people to actually kind of understand that the story was good, but the story, everything going on in the background, surprisingly good. Haven't gotten anything like that since, because the people who made it actually fucking cared about the game. Who would have guessed?
Blockbuster gets to lose the most money, and it is looking pretty neck and neck for now, so congrats to both.
Honestly, can Disney go bankrupt finally, please?
Then, of course, there is the Black Flag remake, and even though I loved the original game, I am personally not quite ready to give Ubisoft my money. But credit where credit is due. They sold 2 million copies in a single day with no players engaged wording to be found anywhere, and became the very first Assassin's Creed game ever to break 100,000 concurrent players on Steam. They also dropped essentially what is a battle pass into it, along with
okay, there it is.
$85 worth of DLC, which has reportedly already made $1 million on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right. Well, I guess I'm not buying Black Flag then. Oh my gosh.
The game sales. People have also been sharing clips of how beautiful the game looks, and somebody decided that included a close-up of a female NPC's feet, which currently has tens of thousands of likes on it. Speaking of female NPCs, on top of toning down some of the female character designs, they also censored the figurehead on a boat. Keep in mind, this is an M-rated game. You spend the entire time slitting throats, blowing up ships full of human beings, but somebody had to sit in a meeting and spend time and spend money.
Yeah, we can't have the flagship on the, like, guys, shut it down. Okay.
Making sure that the wooden lady up front got a bra. This next one has been on my mind for a while, so
I guess.
Love in Deep Space, for anyone unfamiliar, is an enormous Otome gacha game, over 80 million downloads, and to be very clear,
I have some friends who, they're married and their wives play this game. I don't get it.
It is a girl gooner game. And
it is.
Last month, they announced
100%
a sixth
it is.
love interest named Valko, who is a werewolf tech CEO.
And he got canceled because the Chinese didn't want to have anything to do with it. I'd like to remind everyone, for the internet's fault for the foot thing. It is the internet's fault for the foot thing. You are completely correct.
But it got backlash because a chunk of the player base was mad that a brand new character was pulling resources from the team when the 5 guys already in the game are apparently starving for more content. And then it escalated. There were reportedly real-world protests, and allegedly someone put poop inside of the company's lockers. So Paper Games...
Wow. That is insane.
Canceled him completely, even though he was fully ready to go, fully voice acted, cinematics finished, and then the other half of the fan base lost it, and the petition to bring Valko back cleared 300,000 signatures in about 4 days. For scale, the biggest petition against Sony ending...
I ain't gonna mess with these people. These people are insane that like this game, by the way.
Physical media was about 200,000 the last time I checked, so it just goes to show, never underestimate The power of Gooners. Which brings me to Fortnite, yet again, whose summer collab with DC Comics just added bikini skins.
It's a huge, dense news week, apparently. Lots of stuff happened. Like, nothing's been happening for, like, July, but now it's just like... Yeah, the Chinese audience was more worried that the current character wouldn't get new content because of the current characters. Yeah, exactly. And, like, I'm going to be completely honest. It's a gacha game. You shouldn't expect them to do anything that's, like, player friendly.
And tiny Batman swim shorts. The Marvel Rivals approach, I see.
Guess my opinion on gacha
looks
games.
Like they have finally remembered that they are rated T for teen. But moving on from all of that, I have watched Bethesda utterly crash out in headlines this whole past week, and I just cannot believe how much they keep digging themselves into a hole. It has been a whole saga at this point, but with all of the restructuring happening over at Xbox, Bethesda devs have now come out to say that The Elder Scrolls 6 could be getting delayed. You know, the same game that was announced.
Again? Hey Nova, how's that make you feel? The Elder Scrolls 6 is getting delayed again.
8 years ago.
Oh, it's been a fucking decade, right? How long? Oh, wait, when did Skyrim release? 11, right? 2011? Because it was released on 11/11/11. So, 21. It's been 15 years since that released. It's been nearly a fucking decade since they technically released Elder Scrolls 6. And they have released Skyrim after Skyrim after Skyrim after Skyrim after Oblivion, and probably another Skyrim on horizon, right? Jesus Christ.
And the reason that they are giving is the recent layoffs. They have fewer people now. Legacy knowledge is...
Oh, yeah, you know, we can't release the Elder Scrolls 6 because we're laying off all our people that did fucking nothing at our company who probably fucked up the rest of the games. But hey, you know, we're going to be behind on fucking up this game, so we can't release it yet.
Walking out of the door.
Thanks,
and
Bethesda.
The proprietary engine, which, if we are being honest, mostly runs on vibes, is going to be pretty challenging for newer contractors and devs to work with. And while I'm not denying that this is true, and I'm sure that there have, unfortunately...
Oh yeah, Starfield came out. Oh my god, that's right, they fucked up that game too. They're fucking upwards, I guess. After the way the current AAA devs have been, if they fix the game to correct for the last decade of bad choices, I'll accept it. Well, Nova, I hate to tell you, but I don't think they're going to be fixing for the last decade of bad choices. I think this is going to be a culmination of their bad choices until they eventually go bankrupt and have to sell the IP to some company that actually gives a shit about the IP. I think that's kind of the life, like we're seeing the death throes of the company.
This game was announced 8 years ago. Skyrim released 15 years ago. If a wave of cuts right now is what is delaying this game, what exactly has been happening for the past decade? Since Skyrim, outside of ESO and Fallout 76, Bethesda has developed Fallout 4 and Starfield, just 2 single-player launches in 15 years, one of which was supposed to be the very big Xbox console seller and was not. But
yeah, and it was dog shit.
It turns out that somebody above Bethesda has also been asking these same questions ever since she took over, and her name is Asha Sharma. Asha took over for Phil Spencer back in February, and I'm
still not sold on her, by the way. Like, I know a lot of people have been saying that they really like her, they really like what she's been doing. I'm still not sold on her because I don't know if she has the means to rein the company as I would expect a gamer or somebody who's in tune with the gaming public to do. She's cutting a lot of people, which is great. That needed to happen. There's too much bureaucratic bloat. But I don't know enough about, like, how she views video games, how she plays video games, like what she does about video games, especially because there was that controversy about her account, like, not actually being her account. I'm concerned. Now, this concern is not monumental enough for me to completely discount her as a CEO, but I'm concerned because I want to know, like, I'd like to get to know her a little bit better. I'd like to get to know, like, you know, what her favorite games are, like, actually have a substantive, like, long talk with her that, like, you know, what are her opinions on the current gaming social issues? What does she think about these types of companies making these decisions? What does she, you know, does she care that, you know, Sweet Baby Incorporated is a fucking entity and other, like, I guess third-party agencies that are pushing agendas are infecting the games industry? Like, I'd like to know what her opinions are on that before I make an actual opinion about her.
other changes, she has made it very clear that she is done waiting on Bethesda's big games. I mean, somehow we have gotten
That is a big
2 full
W.
seasons of a live-action Fallout show, while the studio that owns Fallout hasn't shipped a new mainline game in over a decade. So reportedly, Asha went over to Obsidian, the New Vegas people, canceled the Avowed sequel they were working on.
Good, thank God.
Goodness, cut about a quarter of the studio and pointed everything that is left at a brand new Fallout game. The whole situation is kind of like when—
Wow. It's almost like, okay, that is actually good. That's smart. It's like, she's like, oh, the people have been asking for this. Then fucking do it.
your mom would ask you to take the trash out and then ask you again a day later, and then wait a truly generous amount of time
that is a big
while you
W
sit
for
there
her.
doing absolutely nothing about it, until she finally walks over, picks up the bag herself, obviously not happy, and goes, fine, I'll do it myself. Now, having your own IP pulled out from underneath you is a pretty extreme thing to have happen, but it doesn't happen out of nowhere. Like we talked about in my last video, Asha explained in her memo that in a typical year, Xbox has been losing 64 cents on every dollar that they have put into their studios.
And they fucking earned it. They fucking earned every one of those cents that they've been losing.
The sizes of the studios grew exponentially while the player base and the sales all went down. So she has decided to flatten the whole thing out, taking as many as 14 layers of management.
And as much as I'm loath to admit it, because I do not like exclusives to consoles, I do not like exclusives in general, exclusives that are good make the whole industry better because it is competition in every sense of the word. If you are competing, we'll just say like back in the day, a good example would be like competing like Killzone versus Gears of War, or like Call of Duty was multi-console release, but like, you know, yeah, it'd be like Gears of War. I mean, I don't really know what a good PlayStation, I didn't have a PlayStation and an Xbox, but insert PlayStation shooter here. They fought for not only just your audience on the actual system, but your audience for the game itself. We got great games out of it. We did. We got great games. Like, we got amazing games out of it. Nowadays, it's all just awful. And I would much rather live in a world where exclusives are competing for audiences and actually being good games than in a world where all of it comes into one system and we get shitty AAA games.
Yes, 14 across some of these studios, down to 5, maybe even 3, with a big refocus on games that actually bring in players and drive revenue, which, as you can probably guess, has not gone over well with some of the devs. There are organized protests from the Bethesda union members happening this week. There was a memorial in the Bethesda lobby, framed photos, notes.
They made him get rid of this, by the way. Thank God they made him get rid of this. This shouldn't be happening anywhere. This is so fucking stupid. You are so terminally stupid if you think that this is a good idea, because this is not what companies do. This is what cults do.
And flowers. I will be honest with you, when I first saw the pictures, I actually thought it was a memorial for devs who had like passed away. It wasn't.
No.
And then I learned HR made them take it down.
Yeah, because that's what fucking cults do.
Almost immediately, because it was deemed inappropriate for a common area. But
It
didn't
is.
stop
It's
there.
inappropriate.
The Bethesda union took to the one place where they knew that their call to arms would be heard: Blue Sky, where the players are. Sorry, where the people who—
Yeah. Blue Sky, typically known for having large, vast populations of unfiltered gamers.
post about the players are. The same players Bethesda has ignored for over a decade, asking fans to call Microsoft on their behalf. And the reason that we are supposed to give Microsoft for leaving Bethesda alone and letting them go back to doing who knows what is
'Cause
the
I said so.
concept
Got
of
it.
Elder Scrolls 6, which probably right now is looking a little something like this.
Oh God, I can't look.
A white skeleton.
Oh my fucking God, no. This was such a funny fucking video. This was
Guess
so
deep
fucking
down,
good.
We're all white in a way.
Don't say that.
I think I'm gonna be sick.
But if you think that is ridiculous, those same union members went to our beloved gaming journalists to make sure we all know that they
my
will
God,
not be
I was
silent
not
about
ready
any
to
of
be
this,
flashbanged by
saying
that.
we need to show management right now that we mean business, so they will properly take care of our fellow coworkers and think twice before ever attempting something like this again. And yes, that does kind of sound like the type of threat I would see from a Discord mod before getting banned because of my tone. Now, as a reminder, Microsoft has been losing 64 cents on every dollar. Fallout 76 launched the way Fallout 76 launched. Starfield was not
Never let them forget how they launched Fallout 76. What an absolute disaster.
The console seller that they had wanted. It has been 15 years since the last Elder Scrolls, and because
Never let them forget that they were defending this game in the Steam reviews. Never let them forget that they mobilized one of their foot soldiers to reply to Steam reviews with, well, space is just boring sometimes.
they have now sat on it for so
Never let
long,
them
their
forget.
own IP is being handed off to a sister studio because their new mom does not trust them to get the job done anymore. And
Good.
the demand Bethesda is making to management after all of that is to think twice. I don't know. I feel like Bethesda thinks we are really dumb, and I am not just saying this to defend Microsoft, the billion-dollar company, but acting like consequences showing up now for 10 to 15 years of poor management, decision-making, and twiddling your thumbs on your most
Oh
popular
no, how
IPs
could this
are
have
somehow
happened to
completely
me?
coming out of nowhere.
Said the
Is
Bethesda
crazy to me.
studio.
What is funny is I've always thought of Bethesda as just a really slow studio. Yes, Skyrim, like many of their games, launched full of bugs, but it was just such a generational experience that you could look past it, and it is still one of my favorite games of all time. But 15 years in between sequels does not make you a slow company. 15 years in between sequels and 15
Makes you
years of
vaporware.
nobody ever telling you no apparently makes you insanely comfortable. Comfortable enough to be bought for $7.5 billion, largely for the games that you won't make, and then act shocked when you lose one of those IPs that you have sat on for a decade. Comfortable enough that management asking you to do your job is the part you take to the press, and comfortable enough to look at the consequences of your own studio's actions for the past decade and ask the players you have ignored to please go make it stop. It is obvious that Bethesda
Man.
has just been sitting pretty, doing whatever it is that they want, but now, as it always does, the bill has come due, and their response to all of this pressure has been very
Has been flailing and like shouting at the clouds. Traditionally the acts of a sane individual.
telling, which brings me to another studio under a huge amount of pressure that has taken a much more humble approach. And that would be Pocket Pair, because
Imagine.
at the exact same time we have been watching all of this Bethesda news play out, we have been watching Palworld fight and climb right back to the top while spending the last 2 years being sued and harassed
Yep.
by Nintendo and Game Freak the whole way through. So let's talk about what they did. Palworld hit 1.0 on July 10th after 2 years in early access. Back during 2024, they hit 2.1 million concurrent players,
It's
the third highest
it is crazy because I'm sure that she's gonna go over this, but it is crazy that Palworld like launched to like an early access title launched to 2 million players. That to me is mind-boggling because like, you know, early access you would expect a lower amount of players, and then 1.0 like to attract like the main player base. But we've kind of live in an era now where early accesses are kind of the release of games. We kind of like, yeah, I think that's probably the best way to put it is we live in like the soft launch era where you're putting out a half-finished product because all games nowadays are half-finished, and then fixing them and releasing them fully as a 1.0 with already people playing it. Basically, you got your QA testers baked into the cake by making them pay to be a QA tester. I don't know how I feel about that because there have been some really amazing games that have come out, like Valheim. And then there have been piles of shit that have come out. And I don't know, like I don't know. I'm torn between it because it's like I like it, but I also hate the fact that it's not coming out in like a full release state. I don't know. But it's insane that their early access got like 2 million, and then when their launch came out, they still topped the chart. Like, okay, cool, good for them. Like, really, they're killing it.
number any game has ever pulled on Steam. And then after 1.0 went live, the count spiked all over again and peaked at almost 860,000 concurrent players, making them one of the 15 biggest launches in the history of the platform. For the second time. At this point, they really
Imagine.
are only competing with themselves. But even though those numbers are super exciting, that is not the part that I love the most, because for over 2 years, Palworld's Steam page had that little warning on it saying that the price may increase at or closer to the official release, which is pretty standard for early access, and Pocket Pair had every excuse in the world to raise it. They had more or less doubled the size of the game. The 1.0 patch notes alone ran 27 pages long. There are 72
They added a
new
whole bunch of new
a new
pals.
world region,
Yep.
a combat overhaul, all, they have spent the last 2 years working so hard to earn people's trust, and I don't think anyone would have been angry about a $40 Palworld, but instead of raising the price, they discounted it at launch and posted this. After much thought, we have decided not to raise the price of Palworld following the 1.0 release, and we'll keep it at $29.99. We are incredibly proud of how far Palworld has come.
Translation, we already made a boatload of money. We don't need a second boatload of money. Have fun, guys.
Thanks to the amazing support of our players, it has become a success beyond our wildest dreams. John Buckley, their head of publishing, even mentioned that while you don't need to wipe your data because they want to respect the time and effort you put in during early access, you probably should.
I do think the problem with EA's early access is Steam needs to crack down more on devs staying in a lot. Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Like the cycle of abusing early access to put out something that just isn't finished, that never has a plan to being finished, is definitely prevalent in a lot of games. And I can bring up a good example. 7 Days to Die is a great example. It's a game that I played, and it was in early access for like a decade. It's like, okay, I totally get a bunch of, new developers using the early access system in order to make the game that they want to, but we can't deny reality and say that every game that goes into early access either has good faith behind it or the ability to deliver on what they want to deliver. And I know Steam has been cracking down on it, which is good. Like, they really have been trying to make it so that people who go into early access have to have a timeline for when they come out of early access, which I think is a good thing. But striking that balance is going to be, I think, a constant and continual fight with no clear resolution.
Because so much has changed that you would just have a better time starting fresh, which is exactly what I ended up doing, and it has already been a much smoother experience than what I remember, but also no more T-posing when I load in, so that's a little sad. So after 40 million players,
it's just to you if you were to criticize AAA games for staying in development
after becoming
for a decade or more, and why were you excusing it for early access titles? So the reason why we're excusing it for early access titles is because there's actually something there that's playable in somewhat of a playable state, and because they're indie developers where they don't have the access, resources, or manpower, or even expertise power of AAA developers. So when you're a AAA game, if that were to go into early access, everybody would be looking at that going like, why the fuck is this in early access? You have like millions, if not $1 billion worth of like effective revenue that you can throw at this. So we're talking about the people who spent time in the industry, so their accumulative price for how much they'd be able to leverage their knowledge base, their skill set to be putting into it. Whereas one guy in a basement, two guys in a basement who want to put their first game together that has an immeasurable scope to it, that there's no way that they can be able to complete it because they just don't have the access. People can kind of get behind that a little bit better. Except now we're getting industry veterans having EA titles for long periods of time too. Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to say is like now we're talking about whether or not people actually have the self-drive to be able to deliver on the products that they promise. So we'll just say a AAA developer, like an industry veteran who say he wants to make a game. Okay, great. Go make a game because you know how to make a game. He goes and tries to make a game, and then maybe he has like a different idea of the scope that it should be towards, where he's making something much bigger that he thinks he can make, but he actually can't make because of how big it is. And that's where the timeline comes in with Steam. And that's why I think a good timeline is always going to be a constant battle, because obviously people work at different speeds, but the industry veteran is going to see that timeline and be like, oh, okay, I actually can't do this, and have to retailer their expectations to how they do it. And I think limiting them to that is a good thing. EA just isn't just two guys in their basement anymore. You're not wrong about that, but there are still games that are just two guys in their basement, right? So it really depends on, what type of game you're looking at, where you're finding it. There have been a lot more industry veterans and companies. I think where you're going with this is companies have been brought up or made around the early access model. I think you're right about that. I think you're also right to criticize that. I think companies being built around abusing the early access system there should be some way to try to stop that, because I don't think it's healthy. But I think that the early access system needs to be in place for the two guys in their basement, because I want to play that game that the two guys came up with, because those are so much more appealing, more unique, and so much more interesting and different than the people who are obviously making companies around early access gaming. And it's going to be a constant fight. There's no right answer to this, unfortunately. But the correct answer is you have to deliver a product by this time. I think that is good, but we'll probably need tooling because I don't know how long that window should be.
One of the biggest launches on the Steam platform twice over, the takeaway from the Pokemon with Guns people is still nothing but immense gratitude, and we can't believe we get to do this. And I don't think the success and their response to all of this is just because they are nice, even though I'm sure that they are. I think it is because they know that the audience doesn't owe them anything. The industry as a whole doesn't owe them anything.
I see what you mean, Nova, but like still at like the end of the day, there are still just the little guys that you really gotta kind of look out for, and I'd rather look out for the little guys and let some bad actors through than let no little guys through at all. But I understand the concern. What's going on today? We're talking about Palworld and a bunch of other things. We're doing our classic React Tuesdays. Welcome along, Colin.
They could have gotten angry about Nintendo and let everyone know prices would be raised in order to combat legal bills, and some people
then
probably
we'll likely
would have
get
understood that. Or they
to
could
the
have
viewer
just
request,
stopped
which is
working on
yours.
the game, kept the early access money, and
We're
let
gonna
that
try
be
to
the
get
ending of everything.
most of our
which
new
happens
stuff out
all
of the way
time
first,
from
though.
studios who never had anything close to this kind of excuse, but instead they finished it at the same price and then thanked us all for showing up. Not surprisingly, this whole approach has been a huge success, even despite the lawsuit, which, speaking of, Nintendo and Game Freak have pretty much all but lost at this point, with analysts now pointing Nintendo's odds against any current version
I'm so
of
glad that
Palworld pretty much at
Nintendo
zero.
is losing this lawsuit. I don't think you understand how much like joy and relief being the chief emotion amongst these, that Nintendo is losing this lawsuit.
And maximum damages of around $30,000, which is obviously chump change for
Exactly.
Ninty.
You
The court
pay their
technically
legal
still
fees.
hears evidence in October, but they are probably going to lose big. So while
Good.
Nintendo is out there shaking their fist like the Arthur meme, watching everyone go crazy for the game that they tried to sue out of existence,
Huge
Palworld
fuck
is over
Nintendo
here printing
angle.
money, thanking their fans, and having a blast, completely unbothered. So if the past couple of weeks have shown us anything, it is that some
I feel
studios
that.
buckle under pressure
I feel
and blame
removing
everyone
weeds.
else.
Those are
Some
I
ignore
hated
it
doing that when I was
completely,
younger.
along with their fans, but then some every once in a while thrive in it and find a huge amount
You
of
always
success.
end up missing
And
one,
I
you
think
have to
that a
go
lot
back
of
and
it
get
comes
it.
down to whether they still
it's
believe
rough.
they have to earn their players or they think that they are just entitled to them and their money. Bethesda has had over a decade and a blank check, and when the bill finally showed up, the answer was that there will be a further delay, a press cycle about how hard everything is, and a blue sky post asking players to call Daddy Microsoft and defend them, using the game that they have been sitting on for 15 years as the reason. Come on now, guys. Ubisoft's answer to this pressure was to go back to basics with Black Flag, which has actually seen a lot of success, but you know, they had to Ubisoft it up by selling you a ton of optional microtransactions and a figurehead with a bra on it. Sony
I will never buy another Ubisoft game again unless they remove all of their single player battle pass microtransaction bullshit. I'm never going to do it. I won't. I will not. I will do everything in my power. If I have to play it for stream just because it's like a big thing, I'm going to try to pirate the game. I am never going to play it legitimately until they remove that shit. I am not going to play these games. I'm not giving them my money. I am not going to give them any amount of positive type of like coverage. I am going to do everything in my power to fight against them because I hate this. Now, if you had asked me 10 years ago if I'd be here, I'd be like, it's probably never going to get that bad. Nope. I am now a big advocate of pirating something if they are taking advantage of you. I am not going to allow myself to be taken advantage of, period. If you ever see me playing an Assassin's Creed game, bet your ass it's pirated. Fuck you, Ubisoft.
Sony's answer to all of their backlash has been to say nothing, while the executives cash out and their customers walk away. And Nintendo's answer to pressure was not to respond with healthy competition, but to go to court over the concept of catching a creature. In all of these examples, none of these companies are really trying to earn our business or our loyalty. They are really not trying to do right by us. They are just so confident that the money is still going to show up because it always has. But it does kind of seem like times are changing, and at the same time, some are starting to wake up and change their ways. Xbox is at least trying to course correct and make up for years of bad decisions, but With all of this, with how the AAA industry has been acting for so long, we've got to remember none of these studios are owed our money or our decades-long patience just because they used to make games that we loved. We are well past that. Even
No, I owe them nothing. I owe them nothing. I will give them nothing. They deserve nothing from me, and I am not going to give them anything if I can get around it, if I think they're taking advantage of me. Imagine. Just imagine. Don't worry about it. You don't even need to delete your comment. If it's something that like you accidentally typed, it's fine.
Rockstar, with their
No worries,
solid
my
track
friend.
record, is
No
not
worries.
owed an $80 or $100 pre-order, especially when they have shown zero gameplay and refuse to give players who want one
Everybody
a physical
makes
copy.
mistakes,
I mean,
so
it'll be
it's
almost
all
a
good.
decade since Red Dead 2. How do
I
you
make
think that
mis-
their
I made
studio and the
multiple
people who
mistakes
have
in
worked there
speaking
have
today
changed
anyway.
in the last 8 years? Something to think about. And it's not like I'm asking for any of these studios to be perfect or to never have a miss or to just hand us everything for free. I just want them to value us, their customers, the people who pay for their products, and to hold themselves to a standard that doesn't allow for a 15-year gap on a game, blowing millions of dollars and asking us to go call their parents on their behalf. And Palworld is a great example.
By the
An
way,
indie studio that
anybody else think that that's fucking rat behavior? Like that is that is what I used to do when I was a kid, when I wanted to do something that my dad didn't want to allow me to do. I would tell my mom and my mom would yell at him. Well, big quotes, yell at him, close quotes. Be like, "Hey, I want to go outside, or I want to play a game or something like that." And dad's like, "No, you can't play a game. You've been playing it all day." So I'd be like, "Mom, dad's not letting me play my game." And then she'd call my dad and say, "You got to let him do it." That's rat behavior. That is so big fucking rat behavior.
has spent the last 2 years
Stop
battling
it.
it out for the right for their game to even
Bethesda,
exist,
stop
let
it.
alone even earning a player base. They could have charged more and chose
I was
not
a
to.
rat when I
They
was
could
a
have gotten
kid. That
bitter
was
and
I
blamed
was
everyone but themselves, but
I was a jerk.
instead, they are just unbelievably grateful for their customers, for the position that they're in, and that respect and gratitude is absolutely paying off. All right, if you made it to the end of this video, but thank you so much for being here. Have you tried out Palworld 1.0? If so,
I
what are all
have.
your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. It has been so much fun starting a fresh account. As you can probably tell, I needed to talk
They definitely changed a lot of things in Palworld for the better, 100%.
about it with someone who isn't bound by marriage to listen. Thanks again for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.
Hell yeah. Huge. Definitely a lot of, that was very dense, but like in a good way. Like there were a lot of things there that we were talking about. And I think the most important takeaway is it seems a lot more positive, rather, when you think about it, a lot more positive than it is negative. Where the positives are coming in, like the consequences of what's going to happen coming from it, rather than like the direct positives that people have been saying that they are. I'm excited, essentially, for the future of gaming. Asha Shawarma seems like she's doing decent enough work. Again, I'm still withholding judgment because I just don't know that much about her. I've stayed somewhat out of the loop on it. Palworld succeeding is huge. And a bunch of other things, like the small miscellaneous things, people like the lawsuits against not owning your games. Thank God. We've got a lot of good things on the horizon for us that all we can do is really support them at this moment. A lot of people have been making enough moves to be able to like do stuff. And I'm so excited to actually see people take control and charge of their hobby.